And welcome to Hannity. And right behind me, sitting in our audience tonight, are law-abiding New York gun owners. Now, their names and addresses were printed by a local New York paper called the Journal News simply because they are legal owners of a firearm. Now, thanks to the newspaper's president and publisher, Janet Hasten, and Rockland editor Karen McBride, the families of the people right there sitting behind me in our audience have now been put at risk and their privacy completely trampled on. Tonight, they are here to voice their frustration and their fears. We're going to examine what legal actions they can take to fight back against the blatant invasion of privacy. And thanks all of you for being here. How are y'all doing tonight? All right, let me start with a quick show of hands from everybody here. You've all been outed? How many here have been out? Almost everybody, right? You have not, and you three, so I just want to make sure who has been. How many of you feel angry about what has happened here? Everybody. How many of you feel your privacy has been invaded? How many feel you are less safe because of what has happened? Everybody. All right, let's start. Why less safe?
Well, it's not so much me who feels less safe. I feel worried about my neighbors because now there are people who never even thought about carrying firearms before, and they're very worried. They're worried that their house is like a shopping list for criminals.
Right. From my perspective, there are three people that should be afraid. Number one, those that were identified as not having guns, right? Home invader. If you're a home invader, whose home are you going to go to? Secondly, all of you, if they want a gun, can they steal one? Right? And third, what about police officers? They've arrested criminals? You're agreeing with that in the back there. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah.
Retired police officer. Not only is my life in jeopardy, what about my defenseless family that does not have a firearm?
You deserve better. And we'll get into that in a lot of detail.
Thank you.
Deneen Borelli, your book, you discussed all the threats that you had gotten over the course of the years. You're outspoken, you're in the public.
Right.
We expect that, but what does this mean for you?
Well, this whole thing is just absolutely outrageous. And yes, I've gotten all kinds of comments from people online. You never know how much further they're going to carry those comments. And my husband and I applied for a carry
permit. That's this good-looking guy standing next to you.
We actually applied for a carry permit, and we were denied. I mean, it's outrageous what the newspaper did. Of course, we love our police officers. They work hard. They risk their lives. But the police can't be everywhere. And people need to have that right to be licensed and have gun protection.
Was it difficult to get the permit? How many raised your hand? Was it difficult?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It took us over a year, and we did it when Hillary Clinton became senator. And I said, I don't need a gun. She's going to take our right away. We better apply for a permit. Now we want more guns because the government's trying to intimidate us through the newspaper.
Yeah. You are not one of the ones that were outed, but
All my guns are long arms, so I don't need a permit, but I'm in the process of applying for one, so I can certainly agree with Tom in how difficult, lengthy, and arduous that process is. And the Journal News is making it seem like everybody, look at all these crazy people with guns. All these people who are pistol permit holders went through an extremely rigorous process. They had to get 4 references. They had to fill out a very lengthy application. They had to get approval by a judge.
Over a year.
Fingerprinted, background check. It takes up to a year to get it.
Yeah.
So it's a complete farce.
Let's talk about the Journal News. You raise a good point here, and I'll ask you in this particular case. The Journal News, they claim they're journalists, but I'm thinking, but they won't answer any questions. And did you all notice that they hired armed guards as a result of the ensuing controversy?
That's right.
And by the way, I want everyone there to be safe, as all of us do, right? We all agree. We want them.
The elite.
What's that?
We want the elite safe, especially.
Separate rules for separate
The
people?
elite.
The elite. Well, wait a minute. Hollywood stars have
It's
guns.
elitist,
Right?
yes.
We
but we
protect
are
our
not.
presidents,
We're
our
ordinary
mayors.
citizens, so we are not part of the elite.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm the New York State Assemblyman for a good part of Putnam County and Westchester, and I will tell you that this has put more people in jeopardy. And basically, they've provided a dream map for perpetrators, for stalkers, for the bad guys. They know where the guns are now, where they aren't, and the FOIL request itself is antiquated because we are now at the crossroads of where the law meets modern technology and, yes, morality.
Yeah, but you know, they did not have to publish these names. Yes, sir.
Sean, I spoke to the Rockland County clerk this morning, and they do exceptional work there, the entire staff. I had asked him if he would mind if I spoke about this tonight, and he said not a problem. He said that when he received the FOIL request, by oath of office, he felt obligated to respond, but he pleaded with the Journal News, both orally and in writing, to not disclose the names and addresses.
Right.
And they said to him, we can do whatever we want with this information.
Yeah, it comes a point. Yes, sir. You're in the back. You want to?
6 years ago, they did this, but the writer at the time, the reporter at the time, his name was George Fitzgibbons. He had the list, and he refused to give them the addresses. So they just printed the name and the town, because his next-door neighbor was a law enforcement officer. He was afraid of, one, somebody he arrested might come and go after his neighbor, and two, what if the guy made a mistake, went to the wrong house, and got his family instead?
That's a great point.
So they went and got a guy who lives out in Queens, so he would have no direct connection with anybody.
Yeah. You were telling me before, and by the way, we've already sort of labeled you as the team spokesman. You've been voted team captain.
I don't know.
As we get started. But you said you're a young mother?
Yes.
Okay, sometimes
Yes.
you're home alone?
Sure,
And-
absolutely. And now especially I feel vulnerable.
Explain.
There's a lot of break-ins going on right now between 5 and 7 p.m. Where I live and in the next town over. And they're warning people, they're coming in and they're breaking in, make it look like somebody's home. Well, they now know that there's a gun there. Thank God they don't know what guns I have. So I feel
These
very...
criminals are smart. They're not,
Yes.
we think they
I
may
feel like
be
my
evil.
house is being watched by them,
You know that
probably.
the Journal News originally, when
Hang
they
on.
made the
Yeah.
request, request, they also wanted to know what guns people had. They were
Yes.
denied that
Yes.
information.
And they
They were
also-
going to publish that as well, along with everyone's names and addresses.
If
They
they're
also
looking for-
didn't publish police officers. A lot of police officers, but a lot of them did not get
did?
published. There's certain ones
I
that
thought
did
they
not.
did. They did.
I know certain people that
Maybe
did
there's some
not.
that didn't get-
Maybe because
maybe they
it was
got missed.
older than 5 years, the permit.
You want to? Yeah. I'm not. We're not looking to disagree on it. We just want to get.
What
the facts out.
happened
Yeah.
with the law enforcement officers is most law enforcement officers don't apply for a pistol license because they can carry on their shield. I've spoken with friends of mine who are state troopers and other police, and they were told by their unions, you don't need to have a license. That was your prerogative to get it. That's why we'd rather you didn't have it.
Let me ask another question here. The governor of New York gives this, the madness has to stop. He gives this big state of the state address. He wants New York to have the toughest gun laws in the country. By the way, Connecticut had one of the toughest gun laws in the country. But he used the word earlier, confiscation.
Sean, if I can speak to that.
Yes, go ahead.
As a senator from that area, people have to realize that this governor's on the record talking about confiscation, and people have got to get activated throughout the state of New York. There are bills out there right now that would send the state police to the doors of people who are now obeying the law, knock on that door and turn those individuals into criminals. That's where this governor wants to go with that. When he's screeching at the top of his lungs that you don't need 10 bullets to kill a deer, the Second Amendment isn't just for deer season.
Wait a minute, this now becomes political. Will the Republicans, they have control of the Senate with their little...
But it's a coalition.
It's a coalition.
And I'm telling you right now that people need to get on that damn phone and they need to call their senators,
Will
Democrat,
they hold the
Republican,
line?
and hold the line. You're looking at one senator who's working every hour from now until next
To make
week
that-
to make sure that this governor's bill, which started as a gun confiscation bill, does not hit the floor of that Senate, and that we bring common sense to that legislation.
How many of you would disobey the law if the governor demanded you hand over your gun?
Off the record?
Immoral.
Off the record? It's immoral. You would. All right, we got a lot more to get to, and I promise we didn't get you guys in the back. It doesn't mean we love you any less. So we'll get to you in just a second.